When life turns harsh, it rarely gives a warning. It's not the hardships you've braced yourself for that bring you to your knees. It's the unexpected blows, the nameless detours, the events you never imagined. They strike suddenly, brutally, mercilessly. One day you feel like you've reached your limit. Your mind is overloaded, your emotions are drained, and you tell yourself, "I can't take anything more." But life doesn't stop. It throws yet another challenge your way, and you're forced to fight your way through the chaos, lost, uncertain, asking yourself, "Can I really make it through this?" Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor and philosopher, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You can't control what happens, but you can always control how you respond. And from that alone, you draw strength. In this video, I'll share with you 10 Stoic principles that can help you stand firm in the storm. If you're ready to take this journey, drop a comment. I'm ready, and don't miss a single second. 1. Life is full of surprises and challenges. You can map out a perfect plan, a rising career, strong relationships, stable health, and a peaceful life just the way you want it. But life doesn't follow that script. It doesn't care how well prepared you are, because sometimes in just a second, everything can collapse without warning, without mercy. An accident, a phone call, a sudden detour that leaves you no longer recognizing your own life. It's not a matter of if, but when. When everything happens unexpectedly, you can't avoid it. You can only face it. The Stoic philosophy, with its strange calmness, doesn't promise that you'll be able to control the world. On the contrary, Stoicism insists the world is always chaotic. The only thing you can control is your own response. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That line is the heart of Stoicism. You can't stop bad things from happening, but you can decide how to meet them. And that's where true power lies, not in changing the circumstances, but in changing the strength within you. Frida Kahlo is living proof of that truth. At 18, she wasn't just a young woman full of dreams, she was bursting with the will to live. Then came a devastating bus accident that crushed her body, literally. She spent years confined to a bed, trapped in relentless physical pain and a lifetime of surgeries. She could have given up completely, but she chose not to surrender. Instead of falling into despair, she reached for brushes and a canvas. She painted pain. She painted herself scarred, bleeding, real. And through that, Frida not only saved herself, she gave the world timeless masterpieces, proof that pain can become art and injustice can find a voice. What Stoicism wants you to understand is not to suppress emotion or ignore pain. On the contrary, it's the art of standing firm in the storm without letting yourself fall apart with it. When everything gets worse, you don't need to control the world. You just need to keep your mind from collapsing. With a solid foothold within, you can endure any blow from without. And this is only the beginning. Because in the next part, I'll share with you a simple truth that can transform your entire survival journey. Never give up. You might be thinking, "I'm too tired," but you'd be surprised by what you're capable of when you don't surrender. Stay with me, because what I'll say next might just be the moment you start to believe again. 2. never give up. He stood in the face of rejection not once, not 100 times, but over 1,500 times. Every closed door was a punch to his self-worth. But Sylvester Stallone didn't give up. When all of Hollywood turned its back on him, when no one believed in the potential of a broke man with a speech impediment, Stallone still believed in himself. He clung to the script of Rocky as if holding a piece of his soul, and he laid down a condition that seemed outright insane. "I'll only sell the script if I get to play the lead." That got him rejected over and over again, but he didn't back down. And finally, when no one had any patience left, it was that relentless perseverance that cracked open the opportunity. He produced Rocky himself, won the Oscar, and became an immortal symbol of unbreakable will, a living proof that sometimes the darkest moment is the very beginning of the light. Stallone's story isn't a fairy tale, it's a clear embodiment of an unshakable Stoic principle: never give up. The Stoic philosophers understood that life doesn't promise ease, and it doesn't need to. In the harshest moments, when everything seems to collapse, that's when character is forged. As Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Hardship doesn't destroy the mind, it tempers it, just like muscles grow only under strain. And just like Stallone, we cannot wait for favorable conditions to act. We must choose to rise, to keep moving forward, even when no one believes in us, not even ourselves, for a fleeting moment. Why is it that our worst times often mark our greatest turning points? Because that's when all the excess falls away, and we're left with no choice but to get brutally clear about what we believe in. It's in that bleak, grey zone that the light of willpower begins to flicker. When there's no way back, the only way left is forward. Not because you never doubted, but because you chose to act despite the doubt. Stoicism doesn't tell you to ignore emotions. It teaches you not to let them dictate your actions. When you're in the dark days, Stoic philosophy reminds you that you still hold one ultimate power: the decision not to quit. No one can take that from you unless you hand it over yourself. And every time you refuse to fall, you grow stronger. Not in some magical way, but in a very real one, like your body after a grueling workout, tired today, tougher tomorrow. So when life throws you rejection, silence, or even a raging storm, don't back down. That moment may be exactly when the tide begins to turn. And as Stallone showed us, you don't need the whole world to believe in you. You only need one person, yourself, who refuses to give up. 3. Suffering is the value of maturity. No one enters life without getting knocked around. Sooner or later we all face harsh seasons when pain, exhaustion and self-doubt cloud every path forward. But it is in those very moments that Stoicism, the philosophy of awareness and resilience, reminds us suffering is not the end. It's the beginning. It's a mental training ground where we grow stronger, more enduring, and more powerful than any past version of ourselves. Stoics don't avoid pain. They face it like a soldier training in the cold. Because they know that every time they push through suffering, even just a little, their will is forged. There's a familiar phrase in Stoic thought, echoed by many: "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." But that only holds true when you don't run from pain. When you learn to live with it as an unwelcome but necessary companion in your journey toward growth. Let me tell you a simple, true story about a man named Carl. Carl was never an athlete. He was just an office worker, spending most of his day in front of a screen. One day, after being diagnosed with high cholesterol and blood pressure, Carl decided to start running to change his life. He signed up for his first 10-kilometer marathon. At the 3-kilometer mark, he nearly quit. His knees burned, his heart pounded, his body screamed to stop. But he didn't. He kept moving, walking slowly if needed. After that first race, Carl didn't become a hero, but he wasn't the same man anymore. A few months later, he signed up for a 21-kilometer run. A year later, he finished a full 42-kilometer marathon, something he never would have believed possible before. Carl wasn't a genius. He didn't have a personal coach. The only thing he had was a willingness to face pain and make it part of the process of building himself. Maybe you're not running a marathon. Maybe you're enduring a breakup, a failure, or a life-shaking event. Wherever you are on that path, remember this: your pain is not meaningless. It's forging you, toughening your armor, preparing you for something bigger. When you understand that maturity doesn't come from comfort, but from collisions, from falling and getting up again and again, you stop blaming life. You start feeling grateful for the challenges. And what about you? Have you ever had your own marathon, not necessarily on your feet, but through your heart, through your willpower? Share your story in the comments, or just write, "I'm in training." That's the first step toward growth, and you are not alone. 4. Self-reliance and personal responsibility. When everything falls apart, when every door seems to close, you might look around, hoping someone will step in and pull you out of the hole. But the terrifying and also the most powerful truth you need to accept is this: no one is coming. No God, no mysterious fate, no savior will rise up in your place. In Stoic philosophy, this is the moment you must face a simple yet hard truth. You are the only one who can save yourself. Stoicism calls this autarkeia, self-sufficiency, self-reliance. It doesn't mean you have to do everything alone in isolation. It means you don't hand your fate over to outside forces. You don't blame the world. You don't curse your luck. And you don't sit around waiting for things to change. Stoics believe this: your life is not written by chance, but by your choices and your actions. Self-reliance is the starting point of inner strength, because the moment you accept that you can and must take responsibility for what's happening, you shift from the mindset of a victim to the mindset of a creator. When you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and instead ask, "What am I going to do about it?" that is the moment you begin to rewrite the next chapter of your life. The clearest example doesn't come from books, but from the real-life story of Nick Vujicic, a man born without arms and legs. In a situation where independent living seemed impossible, Nick not only taught himself to swim and play golf, but also rose to become one of the world's most inspiring motivational speakers. But behind that spotlight is no miracle. It was a bold decision, the decision not to sit helplessly, but to take action every day, little by little, to take command of his own life. Nick didn't choose his circumstances, but he chose how to respond to them. And that is the core philosophy of Stoicism. You may not have been born with the same challenges as Nick, but you will face pain, failure, or injustice at some point. When that happens, you have two choices: blame the world, blame others, or remind yourself that you don't need an external push to start changing. You are the captain of your own ship. And no matter how fierce the storm, a steady hand on the wheel can still steer the vessel to its destination. Self-reliance is not arrogance. It is a responsibility. Responsibility for yourself, for every action, every thought. And when you begin to live this way, you'll discover true strength doesn't come from having an easy path, but from standing firm when the path gets hard. 5. Master your emotions. There's a battle you have to face every single day, even when the outside world is perfectly calm. It's the battle within yourself between raw emotion and the choice to act. Stoicism doesn't ask you to become a cold, unfeeling machine in the face of pain. On the contrary, this philosophy recognizes that emotions are natural, but not every reaction deserves to be acted upon. When something bad happens, rejection, hurt, loss, anger, sadness, and disappointment can surge through you. The Stoic doesn't deny those emotions. They emphasize one key point. Your first emotion is a reflex, but your response is a choice. This is where eupatheia begins, positive emotions that are controlled, refined, and used to guide you instead of ruling you. Serena Williams is a vivid example of this. After multiple knee surgeries and a long break due to pregnancy and childbirth, she had every reason to give up. But Serena didn't let negative emotions dictate her actions. She chose patience. She chose discipline. She chose calm. Day after day, in silence, she trained with steady, deliberate steps. No rushing, no panic. The result? She returned to the court at peak performance and remained an irreplaceable icon in the world of sports. So can you. When emotions flare up, instead of yelling, collapsing, or walking away, you can take a deep breath and ask yourself, who do I want to be in this moment? That answer will shape your fate, not what happened to you. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean suppressing pain. It means giving emotions their proper place, heard, understood, but not in the driver's seat. This isn't easy, but it's something you can train like a muscle. Every time you choose action over impulsive reaction, you grow stronger. Every time you refuse to be swept away by anger or fear, you take back control. And from there, you don't just survive hardship, you begin to own it. If you've made it here and are still listening, let me say thank you truly. Thank you for walking this far with me. It shows that you're serious about this journey of self-development, and I deeply respect that. Before we dive into the next tip, may I ask you for a small favor? If you're enjoying what you've learned so far and have a smile on your face right now, go ahead and hit that like button. And hey, if you haven't already, tap that subscribe button too. Why? Because when you like and subscribe, you're telling YouTube, hey, this content matters, and that helps spread these positive messages to more people who might need a little lift, just like you. So let's share the joy and make sure more people can join this journey of self-growth and positivity with us. Now, let's move on to the next insight, one that could completely change how you view failure. 6. Think, win or learn. When you fall, the first thing you feel isn't the lesson. It's pain, it's confusion, disorientation, the crushing sense that everything you worked for just collapsed in a single moment. But if you can sit with that chaos, stay clear-headed and refuse to give in, you'll begin to hear what Stoicism has always emphasized. Failure is not the end. It's just one chapter in the journey of learning. Abraham Lincoln is living proof of that mindset. Before becoming the 16th President of the United States, one of the most respected leaders in history, he failed not once, but 8 times in his political career. From the House to the Senate, from governorships to other key roles, he faced repeated rejection. But he never gave up. Each failure wasn't a blow to his pride, but a mirror, a chance to reflect and adjust. He refined his oratory, learned to understand voters more deeply, and most importantly, he never let failure change who he was. In the end, those very lessons became the unshakable foundation that allowed him to lead a nation torn apart. In Stoic philosophy, Epictetus once said, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are." When everything is going well, it's easy to confuse luck with ability. It's only in failure that you come face to face with your true self, your weaknesses, your resilience, your reason for starting in the first place. That quote from Epictetus isn't just a reminder, it's a compass. Don't fear difficulty. It's where you discover how strong you really are, or what you still need to learn. The philosophy of win or learn isn't just a feel-good slogan. It's a survival mindset. When you change your definition of failure, you take back control of your mind. It's no longer, "I lost," but "I learned." Each failure stops being a pit that swallows your will and becomes a step that lifts you higher, as long as you don't let go halfway through. And most importantly, you are not the result of a single fall. You are the sum of every time you got back up. Don't let failure be the period at the end of your story. Make it a comma and keep writing, with growth, with grit, and with the belief that as long as you're still learning, you've never truly lost. When things get tough, remember, you only have 2 options: win or gain something priceless. And either way, you're moving forward. 7. Act consistently. You're learning Japanese. At first, everything feels manageable. Some characters, a few familiar sentence patterns. But then, after a few weeks, you stall. Vocabulary won't stick. Grammar tangles like a knotted thread. Real conversations make you feel like an outsider. That's where many people stop. They think, "I'm not good at languages," or "maybe Japanese just isn't for me." But then there are others who don't give up. Instead of sticking to the textbook, they throw themselves it. They join Japanese speaking clubs. They set bold challenges for themselves. Speak 1,000 sentences in 30 days. They don't need to be fluent right away. They just need to do it every day, a little. That's what purposeful action looks like. The Stoic philosophy calls this act with a purpose to move with direction, with willpower, and with persistence. In hard times, positive thinking alone isn't enough. In fact, overthinking without action can trap you in paralysis and self-doubt. Epictetus said it best: "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That line couldn't be clearer. You can talk about strength, belief, and discipline, but if you don't live by what you claim to believe, it's all just noise. When things get hard, what sets you apart isn't what you know. It's whether you keep going. That Japanese learner doesn't know if fluency will come in a few months. But every day they choose action, they repeat phrases, they stumble through conversations, they wear out dictionaries because they understand that knowledge means nothing without practice. Consistent action doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be getting out of bed on time, exercising for just 10 minutes. Write down 3 things you need to get done today. It's this kind of consistency that builds inner strength. Stoicism doesn't ask you to conquer the world. It simply asks you to conquer yourself in small daily acts. And when you keep taking action, you stop being swept away by negative emotions. You start steering them instead of being steered by them, like someone gripping the wheel in the middle of a storm. You're not hoping the storm will vanish. You just keep your hands steady and move forward. Remember this: you don't need to be perfect to begin, but you must begin if you want to get closer to anything meaningful. And you must keep showing up, especially when things don't go your way, because it's in those difficult moments that continuing to act becomes the clearest proof of your growth and your resolve. So when you feel tired, lost, or full of doubt, don't sit still. Get up and do something, anything, because a small action today could be the turning point of your life tomorrow. 8. The reward is on the other side of pain. None of us wants pain. Pain is something we're wired to avoid. But it's precisely in those moments when we endure the unbearable that something awakens, a deeper self, one that's resilient, fearless, and more powerful than pain itself. To the Stoic, pain isn't the enemy, it's a gateway. And on the other side of that gateway lies the true reward, eudaimonia, a kind of happiness that isn't shallow or flashy, but solid, rooted, and lifelong. The philosopher Epictetus once said, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are. Hardship doesn't break us. It exposes us to ourselves and to the world. Not everyone becomes a hero in the face of pain, but those who keep going, who endure, who stand back up after being knocked to their knees, those people are stepping into a realm most of the world never touches, the realm of maturity, self-mastery, and dignity." Bethany Hamilton is living proof of that. At just 13 years old, she was a rising surf star, fast, passionate, and full of potential. Then came one fateful morning when a shark attacked and tore off her left arm. In an instant, her dreams seemed shattered. No one expected that young girl to return to the ocean, let alone compete professionally. But Bethany refused to let pain steal what she loved. She started over. She learned to balance on a board with one arm, pushed through pitying looks and doubts. And then she returned to the waves, to the competitions, and she won. What she gained wasn't just titles. It was a life of meaning, a life that proves pain is real, but it is not the end. In fact, it can be the beginning. Because of that pain, Bethany became not just a world-class athlete, but a global symbol of inspiration, a living testament to the power of will. Her story makes us ask ourselves, how many times have I backed down in the face of pain? And deeper still, how many rewards have I missed just because I didn't dare push through the suffering? In Stoicism, the reward doesn't come from ease. It comes from the courage to step into the pain, to accept it, to learn from it, and to refuse to be defined by it. This isn't about denying emotion. Stoics aren't made of stone. They feel pain deeply, but they don't let it run their lives. They understand this truth. Only by going through pain can you reach true peace, a state untouched by chaos, unshaken by luck, and forged by sweat, tears, and grit. So when things get hard, when quitting feels like the only option, remember this: the reward isn't on this side of pain. It's on the other side, and only those brave enough to cross through will ever get there. 9. Accept the uncontrollable. An athlete is about to step into the final round of the 1,500-meter race. It's raining, the wind is howling, the stands are cold and damp, Many competitors begin to worry, whispering to their coaches, adjusting their shoes, and complaining about the slippery track. But that one athlete, the one you'll remember, doesn't complain. They just stand there silently, gently tightening their shoelaces, breathing deeply, warming up steadily as if the weather doesn't matter. Because they know they can't control the rain or wind, but they can control how they respond. That is the spirit of Stoicism. When life gets hard, we often feel powerless, not because we're suffering, but because we want to control something beyond our reach. We want others to understand us, want recognition, want better outcomes, want life to go according to plan. But Stoicism teaches only what lies within the bounds of your will and actions is worth your concern. Think about it. You can't control what others say about you. You can't stop the rain from falling or the market from crashing. You can't guarantee that every effort will be rewarded at the right time, in the right way. But you can control how you act in the face of it all. You can choose to stay rational, to walk with your back straight, to do what's right even when no one's watching. And when you let go of what you cannot control, something strange happens. Your mind feels lighter, your thoughts less chaotic. Your energy is no longer scattered chasing what's futile, but focused entirely on what actually makes a difference: your actions, your habits, your mindset. Like that athlete, they didn't let the rain determine their performance. It was their preparation, their mindset, and their determination that shaped the result. That's the clearest example of Epictetus's wisdom. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And now maybe you're asking yourself, if I've already accepted what I can't control, if I've already committed to keeping my mind steady, what should I do right now? The answer lies in the next part, and it's also the final principle of this journey, because this is where you'll understand why the present moment, not the past or the future, is the only foothold you have to stand firm in the storm. 10. Focus on the present. When everything becomes overwhelming, the natural human reaction is to worry about the future. You start imagining a flood of worst-case scenarios. What's going to happen next? What if things don't get better? Will I lose everything? These questions swarm your mind, pulling you deeper into a spiral of anxiety. But Stoics don't try to predict the future. They focus on the present, because they understand that only this moment, right now, is within your control. When life becomes murky and uncertain, returning to the present is what pulls you out of confusion and disorientation. You don't have to solve everything at once. You just need to do the next right thing. One small action, one clear-headed decision, one step forward. This isn't just theory. Reality proves the power of staying grounded in the present, even in the toughest situations. Travis Kalanick, the founder of Uber, faced countless obstacles in the early days of launching in San Francisco. The app kept crashing. Regulations were vague. Public pressure and backlash from the taxi industry were intense. If Kalanick had spent his time fearing collapse or obsessing over an uncertain future, Uber might have died before it even started. But he didn't let fear steer him. Instead, he turned to what could be done right then. Building a stronger engineering team, fixing bugs, negotiating step-by-step with local authorities, and adjusting pricing strategies. Not doing everything at once, just doing something right now. That's the spirit Stoicism wants to instill, When everything feels out of control, ask yourself, what can I do in the next 10 minutes? It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be action. Action breaks paralysis. Action is the bridge between now and a different future. And action only begins when you stop drowning in what-ifs and if-onlys. We can't change the past. We can't predict the future. But the present, as fragile as it may seem, is still the firmest ground we have to plant seeds of hope. When you give your full attention to the now, your mind finds calm, your fears start to fade, and something remarkable begins. You realize you're strong enough to keep going. So when things get tough, don't ask if you can make it all the way. Just focus on placing one steady foot on the ground right now. The rest will unfold on its own. We've just gone through the 10 core principles of Stoic philosophy together, lessons meant not only for reflection, but for action. Every hardship can become fuel for growth if we choose to see it through the eyes of a Stoic. If you're going through a dark time, remember this: you're not alone. Everyone is fighting their own battle. Now is the time to move forward. Leave a comment. What challenge are you facing right now? And what's one small step you'll take today to move ahead? Let this community walk beside you. And remember, when everything feels hardest, that's when we discover who we truly are. Be resilient. Stay strong, because pain is temporary, but the reward is forever.